Hi guys, Hoovin Central here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different from a review or a ranking, and we're going to be looking at not these specific episodes, but animations in general in Doctor Who. So, for those who are unaware, there's missing episodes in Doctor Who from the 60s, and not back starting from like around 2006, they've been animating some of them, and we're going to look at what they've animated and how they got to that point, and then we're going to look at from the remaining episodes that haven't got animations, which ones would I like to see come first. So if we look at animation as like a whole, we have to go back to 2003, and in 2003 there wasn't actually a specific animation, but in 2003, this was before the Revive series, a group of people tried to get a animated version of Doctor Who, and it starred Richard E. Grant as the Doctor in an animation, and it was called Scream of the Shalka. It was a 6-part story, animated in colour. And yeah, I've not watched it, but and it's one of those things where it's kind of like a bit of an odyssey. You know, it exists but it's there. And I believe they were going to do more of it, except from the fact the new series came about, and they just didn't need to do it anymore, obviously. Then, in 2006, the people who created Scream of the Shalka had decided that, had been asked by, I believe it was Ian Levine who asked them, but I might be wrong about that. Could they animate episodes of lost story, animate lost episodes in stories? So if a story had like a lot of missing episodes, they could animate them and then and then release it. Then they said, yeah, we can use that, and so they used the telesnaps, which are like still images from the episode, and the audio that had been the surviving audio to make episodes. The first one they'd done like a kind of test run was on the Invasion, and the Invasion was released in 2006 with episodes 1 and 4 animated, with episodes 2 and 3, 5, 6, 7 and 8 all surviving. Then after that, the same team asked, the team thought, well, that works well. We could release episodes such as Power of the Daleks, but unfortunately, Power of the Daleks was 6 episodes all missing, all its parts missing, and unfortunately, it fell through. Although nowadays we have it, which I'll come on to later, but unfortunately, it fell through. And then they did an animation for a 10th Doctor thing called, I think it's not Galaxy Quest. Anyway, they did an animation for the 10th Doctor. It wasn't until about 6 years later, maybe 2012, 2013, where they started doing more animations, and they then pumped out a couple more stories. They're stories similar, like the Moon-based 10th Planet, and it also includes stuff like the Ice Warriors, the Reign of Terror, stuff like that. So they were, but by that point, so far, we've got 4 or 5 stories out with animated parts for the 60s. Then by this point in time, there's this, before 2016, it was known as, there was a rule called the 2 or less rule. So if a story like the 10th Planet could only be animated because it had only one part missing. The Moon Base had 2 parts missing. The Invasion had 2 parts missing. So they hadn't animated a story with 3 parts missing or more. So for most people, they thought, well, the next story is probably going to be either Underwater Menace or Crusade, because those both had 2 parts missing, 2 parts surviving. However, in 2016, they released the Power of the Daleks, which, not this edition because they got a special edition which came out later on, but they released a standard edition of Power of the Daleks. It was good, but it could have been improved. It has been improved a little bit, which is why they released a special edition. But that changed the game up, because now fans were speculating, not because before fans were going, well, there's only really one or two stories they can do, but now fans could speculate any story, because it could, as long as it had good audio quality, for all they know, Dalek's Master Plan could come out next, which would take a long time, but it could happen. So this really changed the game, and then for the next couple of years, they've up until where we're at now in 2021, at the beginning of 2021, they've kind of focused more on the Patrick Troughton ones. So after Power of the Daleks, they released the Macra Terror, the Faceless Ones, the Fury from the Deep, and as of recording this, it hasn't been released, but they had missed the third part missing, and that is slated to be coming out again with a third part animated, as when they released it back in like 2013, they had the third part as a Telesnap reconstruction, which is why I've held back from buying Web of Fate and waiting for that to come out, or possibly they might find the surviving episode 3, as it has been said that it might come out. It's been told that it is out there somewhere in a private collection. So now we have to look at some of the stories. And now I just thought we've looked at some of the stories they've animated. We know what they might be going to go out with, and I've just decided to pick 3 stories from both William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, looking at them and said these are the ones I want animated next. So if we look at Patrick Troughton first, because they're more likely to happen, I want Evil of the Daleks. Evil of the Daleks has only second part surviving, so it's a 7-part story with episode 2 surviving, so they need to animate 6, which, since obviously they've animated Power of the Daleks, shouldn't be too difficult for them, because that's another 6-parter. I think for a lot of people this is a kind of must-do, because there's 2 Dalek stories missing from the archive, and that's Dalek's Master Plan, which only has 3 out of the 12, and obviously Evil, so people kind of want the Dalek stories to get done so they can finish their collection, which I kind of do as well for their Dalek collection. So yeah, I think that would be a good one. Also, considering they've just done Fury from the Deep, it would kind of round off Victoria's thing if they animate her introduction, and they've done her exit. So most of her stories will have been animated. All they really need to do is Abominable Snowmen. Second, I've gone Will in Space. Now, I don't think this is a much as love story, Will in Space, and I know for some reason they decided to make it so it had a Telesnap reconstruction on BritBox, which was a bit strange. However, I do want this one to be animated, mainly because it's the only missing Cyberman story which hasn't been animated. Every other Cyberman story has been animated, and obviously that was because at the time every other Cyberman story had 2 or less missing episodes, or it was all full in Tomb of Cybermen's case. But now, with this whole meta where they can do Power of the Daleks, I kind of hope they do the same thing with the Faceless Ones, where they animate all 6 parts in colour, but if you want to watch it in black and white, you can watch it with the live episodes, just mainly also so you can round out your story, like your seasons as well. And then last, I was in a toss-up, like a tie-breaker. It was either between the Highlanders, because that's Jamie McCrimmon's first story. Although it's pure historical, I think it's just one I want, because Jamie McCrimmon gets in it, stars, and this is his first story, and it'd be quite cool to watch that. Or the Abominable Snowmen, because that would be the Victoria's last story I believe they need to animate. I think both of them are good. Both of them are just, good stories. I think if I had to go for one of them out of the 2, I think I'd go with the Highlanders, which, if you look at the 3 stories, they've all been a companion introduction, because Jamie's introduction, Victoria's introduction, and Zoe's introduction, which also I think will give it a bit of a good hold. I think the reason they've held back from Hartnell's era is possibly because there's a lot more pre-historicals, which might not be harder to sell, but I still think they should do it. And I think because they've been doing so much Troughton, a good Troughton story to do, if they want to test the waters for a pure historical, see how well they do the Troughton one first. The Highlanders first. It's got selling points like Jamie. It's got selling points like the second Doctor, who's a much beloved Doctor. Ben and Polly, it's a good one to test the waters for pure historicals, and then if it works, they could try maybe, the Massacre from Hartnell's era, test the waters for that. So yeah, moving on to Hartnell. Hartnell's is the lesser of the two. He's only had 2 stories animated. He's only had the Reign of Terror animated and the 10th Planet animated. I think for most people, the big one for Hartnell is the Marco Polo. However, I don't think Marco Polo needs to be animated as much as other people. I prefer if they'd animate the Crusades, because although the Crusades has a bit of pure audio quality, I've watched it on the Lost Time box set, and on same as the Moonbase, they included the audio on the Lost Time box set, and it's a really good pure historical. And I said the Massacre, but realistically, if they wanted to try and test the waters for a pure historical in the Hartnell run, I think try the Crusade. There's no major drawings for fans. In the set from the fact there's a new episode, there's no companion departure, companion X introduction and stuff like that. So there's no big reason that anyone would buy it. So this would give them a fairly good idea of how well just historicals in general would sell. Also, it's 2 episodes, which isn't as long as like a 7-part story, because although Marco Polo is famous, if only a certain amount of viewing, if only the pure Doctor Who fans buy it, then it might feel like a bit of a waste if they've done all 7 parts for that. So yeah, I think the Crusade's just a good one. Also, it's the only story from season 2 of the classic run to be missing any episodes. So also it might be a good idea to try and do that one, not only to test the waters, but also for a future season 2 release box set, Blu-ray box set, which obviously I don't really care about, but some people do want that. A lot of his stuff is in season 3. I think season 3 is also where he's most of his stuff for. I think another one I just love to have is the Daleks Master Plan. I think a lot of people want the Daleks Master Plan to be animated. It is 12 parts, so if they were going to animate all 12 parts for the colour thing that the BBC America want them to do, like they have done for Faces ones, that's going to be more effort, but I think the payoff would be quite good. It's got the good drawings like the Daleks. It has drawings such as Sarah Kingdom's introduction. Katarina leaves. Well, she dies. Sarah Kingdom also dies, I believe. Or does she leave? I can't remember. I don't know if she leaves or dies because I haven't actually watched all of it. The Meddling Monk's in this. So, there's multiple drawings. However, I think this is going to take so long that it might be one of those stories where they have to kind of leave it on the back burner and wait for it for a little while and then bring it in. And then my last Hartnell pick is going to be the Celestial Toymaker. I think the hardest part about this is it's a lot of action based. I've watched the final test multiple times, which is the 4th part, which is the only surviving part, and it's amazing. I just want this one to be in my collection. I really like it. I love Hartnell in it. I really like Stephen in this. I just enjoy the whole story, and I enjoy the last part a lot. But yeah, that's just me, my opinion on the thing, and I've looked at the history. If you want me to look at the full in-depth look at all of the missing stories and how you can view them today, then like and subscribe, and if I get enough likes and that people are interested, then I'll do it. But yeah, see ya.